Good morning and welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Director of Social Media for HAR, and I am joined this morning by Nadia Hakim. She is with the Harris County Elections Department and she's the Deputy Director of Communication, here to tell us everything we need to know to get out and vote in just a few weeks. Welcome to
Yes,
the
yes.
program.
Thank you so much, Cindy. I'm sorry, I was responding to emails a little bit earlier, and my coffee hasn't quite kicked in. So,
No
Christina,
worries.
my
No
apologies.
problem. Well, why don't we start out just a little background, who you are, what you do, and what your department does.
Absolutely. So, again, my name is Nadia Hakim. I'm a native Houstonian. I was raised in Alief, so on the southwest side. I went to high school in Third Ward, went to college over in the Montrose area. And then I left for a little bit and came back after Hurricane Harvey because I saw how much the community needed help. So started working in public health. So I've been with the county for 5 years. I've been with the elections department specifically for about a year. And I've got this great, mighty six-person team on the communications team that provides Harris County elections staff, voters, stakeholders, our partner organizations with all the information and resources that they need to go into an election confidently. And we provide everything in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, and Chinese. And I love it. I can't brag about my team enough. So,
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And again, thank you for your time. I know this is a busy time for your department. So we appreciate you coming on and talking with us today. I would encourage anyone who is watching this live video to take a second and share this. The content that we're going to be discussing today is beneficial to every voter in the state of Texas. Of course, Nadia works with Harris County, but some of the things we're going to be talking about are general across the board. So take a moment to like and share this video. Now, Nadia, so Senate Bill 1, this is a new voting law that was signed last year. What did this bill change for voters in Texas?
right. So it was signed into law last year, and then it went into effect for this year. So it's been in effect since January 1st, 2022. And it's changed a significant amount of things. So one, there's no more drive-through voting. We know that was really convenient for a lot of folks. Even though there isn't drive-through voting, I want to remind folks that we still have curbside voting available at every location. So if you are unable to enter a polling location because of a disability, that is available to you at every single location. It is a little more tedious than drive-through voting because drive-through voting, you had all of the materials outside and they can process you as quick as you can order a McFlurry or something like this, right? But with curbside voting, you pull up to a buzzer that's set up in a designated space. It has a little blue sign on it. You hit the button, it pages an election worker from inside. They come out, they get your identification, they bring it back in. So all the equipment is still inside, and they have to bring the equipment out to you. So it is a little more time consuming in that way. Also, with Senate Bill 1, there's no more 24-hour voting. This was really beneficial for folks who work multiple jobs, who are caretakers, and things like this. Even though there is no more 24-hour voting, we do have late night voting, which is on November 3rd. That's the last Thursday of early voting. And all polling locations are open until 10 p.m. that night, as opposed to 7 p.m., which is how it is on all the other days. So there's that. And then the big one is probably the mail ballots. I don't know if y'all have been keeping up with it, but at the start of the year, for the March primaries, we had a substantial amount of mail ballots that were rejected or flagged for rejection. So you've I think we went from a fraction of one, like a percentage of 1% that were being flagged for rejection in past years. And then once Senate Bill 1 was implemented for the March primaries, we had almost 20% of mail ballots rejected ultimately. So that's thousands and thousands of people who didn't get their vote counted. So I like to, I've got a little sample mail ballot right here. What's tripping a lot of people up is that Senate Bill 1 now requires that folks put either the last four digits of their social security number or their Texas driver's license number or their personal ID that was issued by DPS, whichever one they have. It
Mhm.
requires them to put it on their application for a mail ballot. And what's happening is people are putting one down, but it doesn't match what we have on file at the office. Senate Bill 1 requires that it is an exact match. So if you send us your driver's license number, but what you registered to vote with 40, 50, 60 years ago is actually the last four digits of your social security number, even though these two numbers are true and identify you, we can't count it as a match. So, what we're telling people, when in doubt, fill both out. This is on your application and on your mail ballot. So, make sure that you put both numbers, and not only that, put a contact information for us to be able to get back to you. We have a team of about 20 people that all they do is they reach out to people all day. Hey,
Mhm.
we received your application. Unfortunately, you're missing this information. We're sending it back to you in snail mail. This is what you need to correct.
Mhm.
That way, there's not that lag in communication. So, again, when in doubt, fill both out um, and make sure you put your contact information. So, either an email address or a phone number on the, it gets tricky with the actual envelope. So, you've got your ballot that will go into this green secrecy envelope. This goes inside of the mail carrier envelope. But people are not taking a minute to notice that under the flap, the secrecy flap, this is where you put your information.
Mhm.
So before you seal it, you need to fill out these identification fields and then go ahead and seal it. And don't forget to sign your signature right here on the flap. This is how we can tell that your ballot hasn't been tampered with before it reached our office. So very, very important. People are forgetting to sign it. People are forgetting to fill out their information before they seal it. So just a little gentle reminder
Yeah.
on the mail carrier envelope.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And how, if you do use a mail in ballot, how can you ensure that your vote was received and accepted?
Yeah, so there's a mail ballot tracking that's available on our website. So that's www.harrisvotes.com. Also, the Texas Secretary of State's website has links for you to track your ballot. Also, give us a call for our older folks who don't like to who don't like to hop onto the computer or anything like this. Our number is 713-755-6965. And we have a wonderful team of voter services folks who they are fluent in all of the four main languages throughout Harris County, and they'll be able to help you out.
Okay, wonderful. So, Nadia, obviously the last couple of years changed the way we voted, and you've already mentioned a few things. For example, no drive through voting and no 24-hour voting. So, what are the current methods, if you could just list them for us, that people can actually vote? And what tools is your department using to ensure voters have access?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So, there's early voting that kicks off on October 24th and it runs through November 4th. Please, please, please take advantage of early voting. That way, if you are experiencing problems at the polls or for whatever reason you get there and you look at that ballot, it's a monstrous ballot. It's about 2 pages long. I believe it's the longest in the state, possibly even the country. So if you get there and you look at your ballot and you think, gosh, I did not do as much research as I thought, I needed to do. You can tell the election workers, hey, I'm not ready today. Can you cancel my ballot? I'm going to go home, come back another day. So early voting, please, 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 I can't stress this enough. We have 99 early voting locations, and Harris County voters can vote at any single one of those voting locations. On election day, of course, our polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. As long as you're in line by 7 p.m., you will be allowed to go vote. So even if you aren't processed until 8:30, you're okay as long as you're in line by 7 p.m. So election day is November 8th. That's a Tuesday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. By law, employers are supposed to give you one additional hour to go vote. So that's in addition to your lunch break, right? If
Mm.
you tell your boss, "Hey, I'm going to run out, cast a ballot," they are required to give you that extra hour to go cast a ballot. So let's see, early voting, election day, and then mail ballots. All right. So if you are 65 or older, if you're not going to be in the county during early voting or on election day, you can apply for a mail ballot. This is really popular with college students, right?
Mm. Mhm.
Also, if you are expected to give birth within 3 weeks of election day, um, and then, oh, if you're going to be confined in jail, so not prison, but jail, and you're still eligible to vote, you can apply for a mail ballot. And then the last one is if you have a disability, if you can't enter a polling location without assistance or without injuring yourself or others, then you can apply for a mail ballot. And that deadline to submit a mail ballot application is October 28th. But the
Okay.
sooner you apply for it, if you have any issues, the sooner we can get back to you and we won't be on such a time crunch, right?
Yes, definitely. So thank you for sharing that date with us. And that leads us right into what I wanted to ask you next. What are all of the important dates that we need to know? Because I know the register to vote date is coming up.
Yeah. So for every election, and this is statewide, the general rule of thumb is 30 days before election day, you
Hmm.
need to be registered to vote. So October 8th, it's the start of a 3-day weekend. It's in the middle of the weekend as well. So that's why it's October 11th as opposed to October 8th.
Hmm.
So October 11th is the deadline to register to vote. And that's to make sure that your name is exactly the way it needs to be. So if you've got a hyphen or a space, you have two last names, please, please, please go to harrisvotes.com. Double check that your name is spelled exactly the way it is on your driver's license, on your ID. Also, make sure your address is up to date. This is a big one. So again, harrisvotes.com. It's only 2 clicks away, 1 click away from the homepage. Um, but that those are the big things. Make sure that your name and your address are exactly the way that it appears on your ID. So October 11th, voter registration deadline. We kick off early voting October 24th. The deadline to apply for a mail ballot is October 28th. And then the end of early voting is November 4th, and you will only have November 8th to vote in person after that.
Okay, thank you for that. And this is something that you and I were discussing before we got started this morning, but you mentioned something very key there, and that is to make sure that you have the correct address. As you know, our 49,000 Realtor members help people move every single day. So, what would you recommend they do to kind of help their clients out with this?
Um, have them check,
Yeah.
have them check the status right there. But also remind them that, hey, when you're changing your address on your driver's license, when you're updating your driver's license, there's a check mark that you can tick right there, right? The
Hmm.
little check box. And it's two birds with one stone. I don't think it gets any easier than that. Also, if any of our realtors want to head to any of our 10 branch locations and pick up the short forms and include that in their welcome basket, all the voter has to do is fill out their information, seal it, and put it in the mailbox, and it goes straight to us. Also, if they want to become volunteer deputy voter registrars, that's an amazing way to get involved directly because you can get them signed up right there, right?
Hmm.
So closing day, sign this, sign this, sign this, and since you're already warmed up, here's another thing for you to sign, right, with your new address. And we are going to start doing those VDVR certifications and trainings at the start of next year, and they're good for about 2 years. So at the end of every even numbered year is when they expire.
All right, excellent. We just posted the link in the comments for people to be able to check their voter registration status. So, and then there was a question that came in, and I know we shared the link, but just so that our any audio listeners can hear this as well, where can you go to see who and what is on the coming ballot? And this will probably vary by county, I would imagine.
Absolutely, because the ballot is tailored to where you live, right? It's
Hmm.
address specific. But I love this question because you pull up your sample ballot is what we call it.
Hmm.
So you can go to harrisvotes.com, or if you're not in Harris County, whatever county you are registered to vote in. And by law, we are required to have sample ballots posted to our websites 45 days before an election,
Hmm.
right? So you go to harrisvotes.com if you're a Harris County voter, and you click on sample ballot and you type in your address, and it will pull up exactly what's going to be on your ballot. All the candidates, all the contests, they're right there in front of you. So you can start doing your research now, because like I said, it's a tedious ballot. So if you know exactly who you're going to vote for, there you go. It becomes an open book test, right? It doesn't get any easier than that. For information on the candidates and the contests, the League of Women Voters does a fantastic job of breaking it down into simple English. Um, and they send out a questionnaire to all of the candidates, hitting on the topics and the issues, and they just post their responses. They don't endorse any candidates. They don't endorse any parties. So you are getting the information directly from the candidates. So it's another fantastic tool, and I believe they post the sample ballots as well.
Wonderful. Now, a quick question about the sample ballot. Are you allowed to actually take that? You said an open book test. So are you allowed to take that in with you when you cast your ballot?
I'm so glad you asked that, because as soon as I stopped talking, I was like, oh shoot, I forgot to remind them. You cannot access it on your phone, on a e-reader, on a tablet, on a laptop. Those are all considered recording devices, and that
Mm.
isn't allowed within 100 feet of a polling location entrance. But you can print it out. You can take handwritten notes. You can bring a textbook if you wanted to, and that's totally fine as long as it's physically printed out and not a digital device.
Okay, wonderful. And I love taking my little cheat sheet in there. I know exactly what I'm going to do. Makes the process go
Right,
a lot smoother for me, at
for
least.
sure.
Very good. So let's talk about the results, tabulating those results. Can you explain that process of tabulating election results, and why does it sometimes take longer than people expect to calculate those results and share it with the public?
Right, it is a tedious process, and it's definitely a process that is a mystery to most folks, right? So, and that's why people say, oh, the polls close at 7. Why aren't they uploaded to the cloud and results are up by 7:30,
Yeah.
right? Or 7:15. Um, we None of those machines are hooked up to Wi-Fi or anything, and all of the machines have to be physically brought into our central count location. So that is at NRG for this election. So we have 782 polling locations all over the county, and we need the scans. So the machine that you put your final ballot into.
Hmm.
We need the ballot boxes, which store the paper versions of your votes. Those need to be brought into us as well. So those are coming from all over the county. We do have constables and deputized Harris County employees who have started helping with the process and go out to those locations. So as soon as a location closes, after those judges have worked 12, 15-hour days, um, they sign off on the chain of custody, and they say, all right, we're bringing it directly to NRG. So that has expedited the process. I believe for our May 24th election, we got it down to 1 a.m. is when the last bit of equipment came in, and we had the results tabulated and up. But yeah, we aren't allowed to hook up to Wi-Fi. The machines are all standalones. We have to
Mm.
physically get everything into central count, which is very tedious. But we've got it down to where it's like as efficient as can be, and all of those machines have to be uploaded and tabulated onto. I believe we have two computers. So one converts the information into readable data by the actual tabulation machine, and then you take out that thumb drive and put it into the second one. And it takes 30 seconds to a minute for each of these machines to read everything and upload everything. So 782 minutes right there, and that's I'm not very good at math, but it gets to be quite a stretch. But we go as quickly as we can. And I do want to make the disclaimer that all results are unofficial for 10 days after election day, right? Because we have mail in ballots that are coming in. They have to arrive at our office by 5 p.m. the following business day. Also, we have all of our overseas and military ballots that they have 6 days after an election to come in. That 10-day period after an election is called canvass period. And it's when we go through every single vote to make sure everything's accounted for. So if somebody voted in person and submitted a mail ballot, all right, we've got a duplicate voter. Which one came in first? Let's discard the latter one. And we do all of these checks and balances to make sure everything is accounted for.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that explanation. I mean, if you said 1 a.m., I think that's pretty good timing for the last one in May, but yeah, that sounds pretty quick. So as you know, our realtor members are out in the community, out in neighborhoods. What if they determine or they believe that there's a great location that maybe should be a voting location? Are you still accepting locations, or how is that whole process done?
So for November 8th, we've got all of our locations and our backup locations already situated. So we actually do have a link that I'll share with you, Christina. That way you can shoot it out because we are always looking to build that roster of potential polling locations. And there are some requirements, right? So it needs to be at least 800 square foot. It needs to have it needs to have electrical outlets actually inside the room, not like in the hallway or anything like this. It needs to be wide enough for a wheelchair to go through. So all sorts of ADA accessibility things. And I'll definitely share a flyer and all that good stuff with you. But what you would do is you would submit an interest form, and that would go to our locations team, and then we would send an ADA surveyor out there to make sure that it is ADA accessible. And this is just so important, and we really do like to have backups for backups for backups. For instance, we had one location that they forgot that they were doing construction in their parking lot, in a part of the parking lot. And someone with a walker would not be able to navigate that space, and that's just something that they didn't think. They're like, oh, all our sidewalks are fine. But getting through that parking lot, right, you have to do that to get to the sidewalk. So, yeah, you fill out the interest form, we send out an ADA surveyor, and then we get you on the roster and you're all good to go.
That's
The
good.
location list does have to be approved by both political parties if it's a November or primary election, and it has to be approved by commissioner's court. So they go through all of their locations, look at what's in their precincts, and sometimes we have to work with the commissioners and say, "Hey, this community center isn't able to host us. Do you have any backups?" And they help us out as well. But that's the very easy superficial version of it.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, again, our members are out in these communities are being built, new communities with these. Some of them have beautiful, huge community centers. So, always could be a potential location. So wonderful. Thank you for that. So let's talk about some other ways that our members can get involved. I would imagine that you're looking for volunteers. How can realtors get involved and help with this upcoming election?
Helping with this upcoming election. So checking on their clients, checking on their clients and reminding them that, every election is important. Also, maybe it looks like you've got a new client, they've updated their voter registration already, reminding them to look up their sample ballots or pointing out, hey, the closest early voting location is actually the school down the street, or reminding them that they can vote at any voting location in Harris County. So if they're picking up the kids, they want to stop by the one closest to their kid's school. If they're going by, getting groceries and remember, oh shoot, I still haven't voted. Whichever one's closest to the grocery store. There are just all sorts of convenient ways to vote. And there's really no reason not to take advantage of that early voting. Also, if you're the head of a team of realtors, reminding them to go vote and giving them that hour and honoring that, right? Make it a
Mhm.
whole group thing. I think these are the most important things, right? Just holding each other accountable and giving gentle reminders of like, hey, we all want to do it, but here's a way to find time and actually follow through with it, right?
Yeah, I love that idea of actually setting a date and time and say we're all going to go vote at this time.
Mhm.
So that's wonderful. Well, thank you. And you've already shared the website, harrisvotes.com. Is that where we can find any and all information related to voting in Harris County?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. And like I said, if you're in a different county, you can probably Google, Fort Bend County elections and find their website. So every elections office has a website.
Very good. Well, are there any other, because I imagine that you hear them all, are there any other frequently asked questions that you receive from voters that we haven't discussed yet today?
Um, so this is actually one that's kind of changed with Senate Bill 1. That
Hmm.
is a really good reminder because we are such a diverse county, right? And just the Houston area and all the surrounding areas is so diverse. Like I said, we have the website, a lot of our information, our voter services, our call center in the four different languages. Our ballot is built in the four different languages. So if you get to a polling location and you're most comfortable in Vietnamese, you can select that before you get started.
Mm.
Let's say you can't read the screen very well. You can adjust the size of the text. You can increase the contrast. There are all sorts of things. But let's say that still isn't enough. You can actually bring a helper. The helper has to fill out an oath. So this is the change with Senate Bill 1 is this oath, and it holds them liable for the information. But the oath basically says that you are not coercing the person you're helping into voting for a particular candidate, anything like this. You are just there to read the screen for them. So if you're more comfortable in Arabic, if you're more comfortable in Tagalog, whatever it is, and you need to bring, a niece, a nephew to help read the screen for you and tell you the instructions,
Hmm.
then you are most definitely allowed to do that. That's a resource for you. Um, I'm trying to think what else. I had something else, and it'll come back.
Well, while you're thinking about that, Tracy Henderson did share in the comments the website for Galveston County, which is galvestonvotes.org. That would be wonderful if others could share. I see somebody asking for Fort Bend's website, so if others could share those in the comments for us and make this chat a nice little resource of all of those websites, that would be wonderful.
I love that. Thank you, Tracy, for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really great.
Wonderful. Well, Nadia, again, we truly appreciate the time you've shared with us this morning. You shared a lot of great information, and I think it just came to you.
It came back to the light
Yes.
bulb. So, like I said, it's the longest ballot, and we have the longest ballot in the state. So it is going to be 2 pages long.
Hmm.
And the new voting machines are really tripping folks up, right? So I just want to remind folks: follow the prompts on your screen. Insert pages one at a time, and that's for when you're actually going into the voting booth.
Hmm.
You're feeding the ballot paper in one at a time. We have these new machines. It's required that all Texas counties have a paper ballot trail by 2026. So I know it's been a lot of growing pain, but we're ahead of the curve, right? But again, when you're going to your voting machine, inserting those papers one at a time, and then when you get to the scan, this is super important because the voting machine is just a fancy tablet with a touch screen and a printer. It doesn't store your vote. You have to go to that scan near the exit of the voting room and actually scan in your ballot. Again, one at a time. So insert your first sheet, wait for the American flag to show up on your screen, and then you'll be prompted. It says ready for use again, and then you'll enter your second sheet. And that's how your vote is officially counted. So it's stored in a thumb drive in a side panel. It's stored into a built-in memory, and then it's also stored. Your paper ballot is stored in the secure box below. So yeah, it's not a
Great.
receipt. Make sure you scan your ballots.
All right. Well, great. Thank you. And I see our Director of Political Affairs and TREPAC, Karen Driscoll. She did share the link for Fort Bend and for Montgomery County. So thank you for that, Karen. Well, Nadia, is there anything else that you want to share with our members today?
No, I mean, if there are no other questions, that's all I got. I feel like that was an impressive 30 minutes.
Well, of course, we encourage everyone to go register to vote. Again, the deadline coming up October 11th. Talk to your clients and customers, encourage them to register to vote at the correct address. And then, of course, we'll encourage everyone to go vote once voting begins. Nadia, again, thank you for your time this morning.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, and good luck, everyone. Don't forget to early vote.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that is it for this Member Focus Monday. Next Monday at 9 a.m., we will be joined by Michelle Posey, HER Director Michelle Posey, and she is going to talk to us about why every realtor should get involved with HAR. So be sure to tune in next Monday at 9 a.m. Nadia, thank you again for your time, and I hope everyone has a great week. Bye bye.